after a word from Mazda, for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it, because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible, reminding us to go that extra yard, shift into that extra gear, and keep the game moving forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning, and just like there's more to every Mazda, there's more to every highlight as well. Mazda, move and be moved. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in our first international guest in the history of UCSS. It is Zac Jackson coming at us from wherever in London.
Jolly old England.
Are. What's up, Zac?
Oh, we can't hear Zac.
We had his audio. Zac, hold on. Unmute
Mike
yourself. We had audio a second ago.
You said unmute yourself. Nope.
All right, we're going to take him off, Zac. I'm going to send you a new link. Hold on.
Shame.
And I just found out, we were sitting after the show, just so you know, since this is a Guardians panel, we was talking about a random black pitcher that pitched for the Guardians.
You was talking about this Tuesday.
I found out who it was.
Who was it?
Xavier Curry.
Isn't he Latin?
No.
He's
black.
He's. I didn't know he was black. I thought he was Latin.
I mean, we're the same. We cousins.
Yeah, but that's different. I mean, to me, that's two different categories.
He's dark as me, so
like, is Sammy Sosa black? I don't think it's Sammy. I think Sammy Sosa's Latin.
Yeah, they made him go back to being black.
No, I'm not.
He's black. Yeah, he's black.
But he's Latino.
He's a Latino, right?
Yeah.
But Xavier Curry, like I couldn't even remember who it was. Like, your name is Xavier and Curry. Like, so yeah, definitely. That's
the first pitcher I think of when you said random black pitcher is a guy named Chuck McElroy. I gotta look him up.
That's crazy.
All right, we got Zac back, and we're
got
getting
him?
audio levels. So Zac, let's pray that it's not an international waters issue.
I don't know
Zac,
if praying is
give us
necessary. Here's Chuck McElroy.
Wow.
All right, sorry, Zac. We got you now.
Yeah, I'll take the Guardians 5-2. Thanks for asking.
5-2. There it is.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. What time are you gonna? Oh no, the game's in the afternoon, so you don't have to stay up that late to watch it. So that's good.
Yeah, it's at 8:00. So yesterday I sat in the hotel lobby and I was able to listen on Sirius to Hammy. So I'm hoping to be able to watch it tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I'll be able to, but I'll certainly be listening.
That's awesome. Hey, Zac. Obviously, we haven't spoken to you since Dillon Gabriel got named the starter. We were talking about it on Tuesday when you were on my podcast about the possibility, and now it's happened. So what do you think, and what's the buzz about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a surprise, right? And nobody fully blames Joe. There's plenty of blame to go around, and we'll talk about that. But this offense needs a spark. And in the bigger picture, obviously, they were always going to go to a rookie quarterback at some point this year. But really, this team has a pulse. The divisions are wrecked. The defense is good. And the offense has just been so bad that, even a couple times last week they had a chance to make it more competitive, make it interesting. They didn't. So you bring this guy in, and you hope that he can not turn the ball over. You hope that he can be mobile. You hope that he can give it a spark. And look, 17-16 or 13-10 has to be your roadmap. And they haven't even gotten there. The last 3 games, only 1 touchdown before garbage time. So get 2 touchdowns, get 166 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, right? And then and see how it goes.
Zac, what is the offensive line situation looking like? I know they got Cam Robinson. Is Jack Conklin healthy? Do we see Tharold Mumford? Is it Cornelius Lucas?
Yeah, so I think we'll see Cam Robinson. But Tyvus, they practiced yesterday. We don't get to see practice, and they didn't really have a full practice today. They got here kind of overnight. They had their walkthrough, which just concluded about 30 minutes ago, and they'll have a real practice tomorrow. So we'll have a better idea then. I haven't seen the injury report. Jack Conklin, I'm sure, will be listed as limited as he's been for 3 weeks. I can tell you the last 2 weeks he was not ready to go. He has a nasty right elbow injury, and you have to be able to strike with your right arm to play right tackle. So I do think Cam Robinson will be the left tackle. Either way, that'll be 5 different offensive line combinations in 5 games. And that'll be 4 different left tackles. They had 3 last year. That'll be 4 in the season's first 5 games.
Why is it that Cam Robinson is able to play right away, but not Tharold Mumford?
Well, I think Cam Robinson's been a starter in the league for 8 years. Tharold Mumford's been in the league for 4 years. He's been a part-time guy. So it's a great question. And maybe we will see Thayer active this week. Signing him off the practice squad means he's guaranteed 3 weeks on this roster, and he should be more acclimated. So, but Cam Robinson's a 100-game starter here, and he played for this team last year, this Minnesota team. That's a pretty nice chunk of change that the Texans gave him, guaranteed $10.75 million, and then bailed on him. They're playing the rookie. It was time, they thought. The rookie was better. So it's a pretty important position to just bail on a guy in October, especially when you're the Texans and still think you can win and should win your division. So that gives me a little pause, but I don't think the Browns had many options. I think Cam Robinson was the option. So he's the next guy up, and we'll talk about it next Thursday, who's going to be the left tackle.
Yeah.
You look at this, and we've kind of talked about it with, Ross Tucker, and he says, look, they're going to try to get the ball out quickly, but, of course, Minnesota knows that. He's a rookie. They're going to mix some looks up. Do you think that this offense will look a little different? Do you think we'll come into this game and say, wow, we haven't seen that before? Kevin looks like he's in his bag a little bit.
Well, I do know it will look different, Garrett, because he's left-handed, because he's 5'11" in spikes, right? Because there'll be design rollouts. There'll be everything you would do to get a rookie quarterback comfortable. But there will be different elements, starting with, mobility and some bootlegs and things like that. So he will be prepared, and, there will be some of that different stuff. Look, 2 touchdowns and 166 yards and only 1 interception is a great game. And my worry would be that all of these 3 to 5 yard passes will eventually get figured out, and one of them will get swooped the other way. But if he plays an efficient game, makes a couple guys miss, extends a couple plays, and executes the script early to get everybody in a flow and kind of keep that flow, that's what they haven't been able to do, is keep that flow. Now, last week it was the drops, right? Yep. So he's got to get help from the guys around him. But I think you're going to see a big Harold Fannin game. I think Njoku's going to have to be back in the game plan. Obviously, everybody in the stadium, everybody on 2 continents knows they would love to run Judkins 25 times. But it's going to be a bunch of quick passes from Gabriel, and he's got to avoid the big mistake, and he's got to avoid the rush, and guys have to help him by catching the ball.
Who gets more reps, you think, in the game, Bond or Thrash?
Well, I think Thrash will play more, like in the 2 receiver sets, but I think Bond will be part of that early script when I talk about design touches and right. Guys they want to try to get and create in space. So they're leading the league, guys, in multiple tight end sets. That's no surprise, and that should only accelerate. But this is game 5 for Bond. He's been here 2 months now, or going on 2 months. He has made some plays. Got to give him credit. Not many guys have made plays. He's made a few, and that's a few more than a lot of guys have made. So, going forward in like from a fantasy football standpoint and from a who can bust a touchdown standpoint, it's Isaiah Bond. I do think that Thrash certainly showed a chemistry with Gabriel in the summer, and he certainly will catch a lot of the short ones. And I think it's going to be mostly short ones.
Who is the guy on the offensive side of the ball for Minnesota that bothers you the most?
Jefferson.
Outside of him. Outside of him.
It's Addison here, right? They believe in playmakers there. They drafted 2 first-round receivers, and he missed the first 3 games. But the guy can play. Didn't he win the Blitnikoff as a sophomore, or maybe he's a freshman? Yeah. Like he's really good. So I look for Jefferson to play in the slot, to try to get the Browns to move out of what they want to do. And I look for Detroit's game plan last week was to go right at Greg Newsome, and Jamison Williams just refused to catch the ball. I think Minnesota's going to go right at Greg Newsome with Jordan Addison.
Is this a game? I get that,
Why are you laughing, Tyvis? It's true. He refused to catch the ball.
That was a good.
He could have had a 200-yard game.
They believe in playmakers.
You want to know what's sad? You want to know what's sad, Zach? I got J-Mo on my fantasy team, but I was so mad that he was.
I do too. I'm like, this dude is tripping.
Yeah.
This dude is wild.
That could have been a 200-yard game.
Yeah, it could have been. You're right.
Is this a game now? You got the Carson Wentz. Like, did the Browns really like? I would think that the Browns defensively say this is a game that if we can prop our guy up, I know it's a rookie, but we can get something from Carson Wentz. We can get something.
Yeah, Garrett, you know how the Browns don't like to say anything about anything? Just 5 minutes before I came out here, Jim Schwartz was on the podium, and he said Carson Wentz will fumble. He's fumbled in his career. They're going to do it. And Minnesota's going to have at least 2 backup offensive linemen. So that's how the Browns win the game. The defensive line, a turnover, a defensive touchdown, right? Constant pressure. Make Carson Wentz win it. It's like keep Dillon Gabriel from having to win it, but make Carson Wentz win it. And certainly I think that goes hand in hand with your defensive line wins it. So Schwartz always calls him the engine. We know Malik Collins has been playing great. We know who Miles is. Last summer, the Vikings came in and did those joint practices, and we could talk a lot about what really went on there. But one of the things is Christian Darrisaw held Miles so bad he ripped his jersey right off him. They had to go get a new jersey for Miles because he was holding him so much. That it was joint practice. Who cares about 10 yards on Sunday? Those will be penalties.
Zach, I know obviously it might change because maybe you get a boost from the rookie. But did you get it? Do you have any sense at this point of the defense being like what's their level of frustration with how bad the offense has been?
Yeah, I think there's an obvious level of frustration, Bull, but I don't think anybody's ever quit in September. I don't know if there's ever been mutiny in September, even by Brown standards, right? So, look, if the defense would have gone out and delivered another A-plus game last week, maybe. But I think the defense got humbled a little bit. It wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't dominant by any means, right? It was the first time that the guys weren't consistently back there. I mean, they did get a turnover in the second half, and not much really to show for it. So I think the defense has its hands full with the way they'll move Jefferson around and use Addison. I think the defense should see opportunity because there's going to be at least one offensive lineman for Minnesota who hasn't played at all. And then, the defense, if it really wants to be that unit, it can go prove it this week and prove it next week. And what are huge games for the Browns? After that, then maybe we can talk about it. But I don't think that's an issue right now.
Zach, was you in the locker room when Shador mouthed his answers?
I was already over here, so I was not there. But I was here. I was listening to Tom Hamilton on the radio, and I was looking at my phone, wondering what in the world is going on back in Berea.
Would you have kept asking questions? Because that's what we were
I
trying
would
to
have,
figure
yes.
out. You would have?
I would have. Yes, I would have continued to ask. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was answering. It's just it wasn't everybody. If you didn't know, couldn't read lips, and you couldn't get the answer. So I would have kept asking. Yeah.
This closed caption for hearing impaired. That's wild work, bro.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Listen, we should never stop the one-line king. Thoughts?
No, I would just tell you this: the Cleveland Browns have signed up for this, all of this. So
100%.
That's all I can say.
Yeah, they deserve all the backlash that they get. There's no doubt about it. Zach, thanks, man. We appreciate it. Have a good time out there. We'll talk to you next week.
I got one more for Zach.
Oh, you got one more? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Zach, Mike Hall is not expected to play. He did not make the trip to London.
Yeah.
They could have put him on IR if they thought he was going to miss a fifth game because obviously that would have put him out for the first four. But is there a reason he's progressing slower than I think a lot of us anticipated?
No, I mean, I don't think that that's the case. They chose not to put him on IR because they needed him on the practice field in order to get him back. And I understand that takes up a roster spot, but look, we're not keeping all pros off this roster, right?
Yeah.
This was part of the deal. So Mike Hall got hurt on January 5th or whenever that last game was last year. And in order for Mike Hall to play by October 20th or so this year, they needed him in practice 2 days a week. So of all the things it does come off as strange. But I don't think they ever thought Mike Hall was playing in September, and I think this was always part of the plan. So I agree, but and this is where it comes into where when they refuse to answer anything and they're so bad at messaging, as bad as they are at blocking and picking wide receivers and all that, it becomes weird. But this is the choice that they made for Mike Hall, and they think that Mike Hall will be playing, close to the bye week.
Thanks, Zach.
And I got one more for Zach. Zach, I'm going to ask you if you can get this question. You can answer it correctly. I'll Venmo you $5. If not, I will text you on the side because I'm going to ask these guys tomorrow on the show.
Yeah.
You have to promise me not to look this up, Bull and G.
Okay, I won't look it up.
Dillon Gabriel will become the shortest left-handed starting quarterback since who when he makes his NFL debut as a starting quarterback on Sunday?
Mark Brunell.
Shortest lefty since who? It's not Mark Brunell.
Steve Young.
Travis,
Well, I know.
Because you're not on tomorrow.
Is it Tua?
It is not Tua, no.
Is Tua left-handed?
Yeah. Yes.
Tua is, yes.
Can I guess?
Jim Zorn, maybe.
Can I guess?
G, you're on tomorrow, so you can't guess.
I just guessed and I shouldn't have.
Yeah, we're gonna do this tomorrow.
That's a random question, Mike. How would somebody know that?
Do we know
It was on Get Up this morning. It was their.
Who watches Get Up?
I saw it when I was in the gym. It was their
Smart man.
sneaky fact of the day.
Is this a guy that we would know?
I'm not going to tell you because I'll text you the answer and you could
All right.
decide.
Zach, thanks, Zach.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you later. Zach from England there.